At Christmas time in the church, we talk a lot about the divinity of Jesus. I mean, we're celebrating the incarnation when God became human. But I'm always aware for a lot of Christians, that's a pretty perplexing issue, the divinity of Jesus. I mean, the fact is, for a lot of Christians, they think primarily of Jesus as a really wonderful man that taught compassion, a prophet of social justice, a great teacher. And he was all of those things. But you know, the divinity of Jesus has become very important to me. And I want, in a lightly theological way, to tell you why it's so important to me. Now, again, there are lots of different ways to follow Jesus. And I don't think theology is always as critical as we think. I am not concerned about how orthodox you are. Some of my theology tends to be fairly orthodox, but I don't think there's a litmus test of what it is to be a good Christian. That's a matter of the heart and a matter between you and God. Also, I totally get it when people question the divinity of Jesus. I mean, we're scientific thinkers. It's so metaphysical to even think of such a thing. And really, when I talk about the divinity of Jesus, I'm mostly talking from my emotions. I've had some spiritual experiences of Jesus. And to talk about his divinity is to just emotionally talk of my love for him. But I want to get a little theological. I'll give you 4 reasons that I think the divinity of Jesus matters. So, number 1, I worry if someone can't see the divinity in Jesus, they won't be able to see the divinity in other human beings. Well, I think the divine is in all of us. I think Jesus is the preeminent example. But if we're not willing to talk about his divinity, we would never talk about the divine within everyone else. Genesis 1 says, you are made in the image of God, of the essence of God. Jesus says the kingdom of God is within. You have the divine within you, and it's critical to human dignity that we're able to sense each person is sacred. For Martin Luther King, that was essential. If someone is divine, you don't treat them like an object. If someone has the divine within them, they're not an object for your manipulation. They require our full respect and to give them full dignity. So when I say Jesus is divine, just as much at that moment, I'm celebrating the divinity within all of us. I'm not trying to draw lines in the sand so much. Okay, number 2. When I say Jesus is divine, and I love to say it, when I say he's divine, I'm celebrating love itself. Let me explain. You know how I'm always quoting 1 John chapter 4, that no one has ever seen God, but when we love each other, God abides in us, and God's love is perfected in us, for God is love. I quote it all the time because all of my theology moves through that passage. It's the foundation of all of my theology. God is love. So when I say Jesus is divine, I'm saying Jesus is love, the pure, actualized manifestation of love in a human being. I'm celebrating love when I say Jesus is divine. If God is love and Jesus is God, Jesus is love, fully present among us. I think there's no way we could celebrate love too much. So I think we should shout things like, with glee, Jesus is divine. Because love matters. Love means more than anything else. Okay, number 3. So when I'm saying Jesus is divine, at the very moment I'm saying God is Jesus-like. It's all that content, that God is compassionate, that God cares about justice, that God is love. It gives content to that abstract notion of God. It's hard to love an abstract concept, but when I know God is Jesus-like, I can love God more easily. Yeah. So, number 4, when I say Jesus is divine, when I call Jesus my Lord, at that very moment, it means no one else is my Lord. Nothing else has divine authority over me in our world. Do you realize kind of the radical implications? If you elevate Jesus above everyone else, that means anybody else is not the ultimate authority over your life, meaning any national leader or even any other principle like money or such. When you say Jesus is divine, you're saying that is your ultimate concern. That's a phrase of Paul Tillich's, that he thought God is our ultimate concern. It's what matters most to you. When I say Jesus is divine, I mean he matters most to me. And he's the true authority over my life. That's how I want to live. That's who I want to become like. If you steer your life towards other authorities in this world, you can go sideways. Okay, I'm just being lightly theological because when I say Jesus is divine, it's more a matter of the heart. And if you have scientific reasons you would reject such a thing, or it doesn't fit your rational mind, I understand that. What's it mean, this separation we call between the divine and human? Each one of those categories we don't fully understand. Each one is mysterious. So if you're unsure, you can still be just as good a Christian. I just wanted to share with you from my heart. So let me say it one more time. Jesus is divine.